Today could be the day that our rebuild becomes complete. 5 seasons going from the worst team in baseball in year 1 to potential champions here at the end of season 5, and the only thing that stands between us and that championship is this Seattle Mariners team. Will the rebuild become complete today? Let's find out next in our MLB the Show 25 Pittsburgh Pirates House Rules franchise rebuild. I'm excited for today's episode. I think we have a really good chance against this team. I think we're better hitting. I think we're better pitching. Will talent prevail is the question here, and our pitching has really been, for the most part, excellent in this postseason run. It's been the offense that's been more up and down. That's the one worry I'd have entering this series is we're kind of coming off a series that, despite the fact that we won it in 7 games, we were kind of cold offensively, and I'm hoping that that cold streak won't continue here into the World Series. We've got Paul Skenes, of course, on the mound for Game 1. The ace that we've had since day 1 now has a chance to be the man who kicks things off for us in potentially the series that will crown us world champions. Gets a strikeout there for the second out of the first inning. Julio Rodriguez, their best player, is going to start the series with a ground out over to Jazz Chisholm at third base, and a clean inning from Skenes to get things kicked off. Our offense going to be going against Bryce Miller, who hasn't had the best postseason in his 18 innings pitched, but he is a very talented pitcher. Not going to be an easy man to go up against by any means. Billy Fink starts things off with a ground out. Nearly got it to get through the infield, but couldn't quite get it done. Brian Reynolds does get it through the infield there, right up the middle for a 1-out single here to start this one off. Jazz Chisholm, probably been our best player in the postseason so far. Brian Reynolds steals his way to second. This is inside, but Jazz Chisholm swung on it anyway. He's out. Reynolds advances to third, but it's up to Joe Adell to try to keep the inning alive. Can't do it, though. That swing goes right into the glove of third base, and we're out of the inning with nothing doing. Skenes. Strike 3, 100 miles an hour inside for his second punch out of Game 1. Now going against Pasquantino here. Popped up. David Yan giving chase, and it looks like we're going to have another really clean inning from our ace. Robles in the 5 spot, swinging at the slider outside the zone. He strikes out here. First strikeout of the game for Bryce Miller. Yan lifts it to the outfield, and both sides cold offensively to start this game. We've got a full count. The sweeper finds its way into zone, and Vierling looks at it for strike 3. Alec Thomas sitting in the 8th spot for the Mariners. That's going to be down for a hit. Gets to the wall. And a stand-up double for Alec Thomas, the first one to show any signs of life here. Robles takes this hit, and a strong throw will hold the runner at third. 2 gone here, and that pitch in the dirt nearly got the throw in time from Yan, but instead a wild pitch makes it runners on second and third. Seattle trying to get the first run aboard here in the World Series. Hit hard by Rosario and tracked down by Ponce. Nearly would have been a 2-run hit, but Ponce was able to get there. Billy Fink back up for his second try. But another quiet inning from Pittsburgh. It's certainly not looking like our offense has improved from last episode by any means so far. So it's a good thing that Skenes is having himself a good game here. Hauled in by Termarr, and a leaping throw from second. Makes it 2 straight gone here in the top of the 4th inning. Nice looking play over at second base there. Pitch 50 on the night. Could be the inning ender here in the top of the 4th. Giving chases Joe Adell. He gets all the way back to the warning track, but he does get there in time. Just 3 hits through 3.5 innings in this game 1. Brian Reynolds, I don't know why I called him Bryce. Brian Reynolds behind 0-2 and then swings through that pitch for a 3-pitch strikeout. Joe Adell, average all the way down to 217 in the postseason. A diving play from first. The throw to Miller, who covers, and an excellent play at first base. Makes it another quiet inning from our Pittsburgh Pirates offense. Starting to get a little concerned here. But Paul Skenes continues to do his thing. 103 miles an hour on the gun for strike 3 there. Which team is going to be able to break through this tough starting pitching first? Might be the team that's able to get the victory here in this one. And the answer is David Yan. 436 feet, and finally a run is scored here in game 1. It comes from the first draft pick we ever made in this franchise rebuild. Showing up for us in a major way. Finally able to break through this tough Bryce Miller pitching and get a run aboard with 2 gone here in the bottom of the 5th inning. David Yan, ladies and gentlemen. Pedro Ponce up after him. Gets a pitch over the middle, but too far underneath it. The inning is over. But no longer a 0-0 ball game. Paul Skenes trying to protect that lead now, and Kyle Raleigh ties it up instantly. I mean, took so long to get the lead, and then the very next at-bat, we just lose it. That is a bummer. Also, it feels like this happens often in MLB the Show. I almost could have predicted it. And when you have a game like this, as soon as one team hits the home run to take the lead, it almost always at like the very next inning, or half inning, I should say, the other team ties it up. I've seen this story many times before. That's the only one run allowed for Paul Skenes here in the 6th. Reynolds gets it in for a single here, so we're not going to do nothing here in the 6th. But with the way our offense is performing, trying to advance a runner with 2 gone already is going to be very difficult, especially if Jazz Chisholm is waiting on pitches like that. Into the 7th now. Paul Skenes trying to go 7 innings. He's got 2 gone already, and the 3-2 pitch is just off the plate. The only walk he's allowed so far in the game. Now trying to go against Matt Vierling. Popped into foul territory, and Jazz Chisholm able to get underneath it. 7 innings with 1 run allowed for Paul Skenes here in game 1. excellent pitching. Once again, we've had it all postseason long. But much like we saw last episode, it's the offense that has not been able to show up for us in this one. That's going to be fair for Albert Sweeney. He'll jog on over to second base. The ground rule double. That's also going to end the day here for Bryce Miller. So he doesn't make it quite as long. He makes it 6 2/3 rather than the full 7 innings. David Yan, the only Pirate to bring home a run for us in this game, and he's going to bring home another one. That gets through, and the throw is not in time. David Yan with his second RBI, the only 2 for us in this game for us at this point. Our catcher coming up clutch in game 1. Pedro Ponce once again tasked with keeping the inning alive, and what a pitch. 4 strike 3, painted on that upper edge of the zone. But David Yan gives us back the lead. Can we hold it this time around in what's certainly looking like it's going to be a low-scoring affair to start the World Series? Carmen Mlodzinski comes in for the 8th inning for the Pirates. Now with 2 outs after that strong pitch for strike 3, getting Raleigh's swing. Leadoff man Tommy Chang is going to line out over to first base. Albert Sweeney with the reaction time. And now there's just one more inning to go. Nothing doing for the Pirates offense in the 9th, so it comes down to Emmanuel Clase. The bottom of the 8th for our Pirates offense. He was clutch for us in the NLCS. We need him to come through again, going against some very talented bats, including Julio Rodriguez. And for now the 3rd straight time, an out over to Albert Sweeney, and we're an out away from taking game 1. Lars Nootbaar, the last hope for Seattle, and a diving play is made by Joe Adell in center. The Pirates are victorious 2-1 in game 1. I mean, game balls for this one have to go to Skenes, Yan, and Clase. Those 3 easily the keys to victory. Not a lot doing offensively the first 4 innings. Nothing much happened at all. But the Pirates do enough down the stretch. Once again, shout out to the pitching for carrying us to another victory. Let's hope that as this series goes along, our offense can warm up a bit, because 2 runs isn't going to be enough to win that many games in this league. Even with our star-studded pitching, you can't count on them to hold this offense to just 1 run every single game. And we're going to have Jared Jones versus Garrett Crochet here in game 2. So the pitching not going to get any easier. In fact, on our side, it's going to get even harder. A couple off seasons ago, Garrett Crochet signs the richest pitching contract in MLB history. I mean, if you're not going to count, a Shohei Ohtani, who's much more than a pitcher. So let's see what Jared Jones can do in game 2 against Seattle. He's got the first 2 outs of the first already in hand, going against Julio Rodriguez. That's going to get down for an extra base hit. Robles tracks it to the wall, and the 2-out double for Rodriguez here in the first. Lars Nootbaar not playing well this postseason at all. That's going to continue with a grounder over to Sweeney. He's been active defensively to start the World Series, that's for sure. A lot of grounders heading his way. He's done well with them so far, but now it's time to see what we can do against Garrett Crochet. Doesn't have the best stamina, so that's something to monitor as he gets a fastball painted on that corner against Joe Adele. Great pitch there. Super high overall, not the best stamina, so at least the hope is if we can perform well enough to maybe make it so he only is able to get through 5. But you need to string a couple of innings together in order for that to be the case. We do get a 2-out single here from Reynolds. The Game 1 hero, David Yan, up next to the plate. And once again, we try to steal a bag with Brian Reynolds. I think he's like 1 for 4 or something in the postseason that we've even seen. It might even be worse than that. I don't know what the impetus is to send Brian Reynolds to second so many times. He's just not that great of a steal threat. But that's been the goal of our staff here, is to get Reynolds into second. It's just not really all that successful most of the time. Great pitch there from Jared Jones for the strikeout, though. Now has a full count for Pascancino. That's strike 3 looking. 99 miles an hour on that fastball from Jared. Makes it 2 gone here, top of the second. Now he's got a 1-1 count here. This is going to be over the wall. A solo shot in the second. Was hoping it would come up short, but it just got enough for Seattle to be the first to strike in this game. 2. Only the second run for Seattle so far, both coming via solo home runs. Thomas lifts this one deep to center field, but not enough carry to travel over the wall, and that'll be it for the top of the second. Yan, he is down for a hit to lead off the second inning here. Been our best offensive player, 3 hits already. I don't think anybody else has more than 1 right now. Sweeney. That's going to be no. Down for a 4-6-3 double play. The bases are now cleared and 2 gone in the second. Ponce gets that pitch, and it does get down in the outfield. Julio Rodriguez not able to reach it in time. So we'll get another base runner. Trying to keep this inning alive, tie this game back up. Jazz Chisholm. Such a good player for us in this postseason, but not as good against left-handed pitching. That's why he's, of course, way down in the order compared to where he usually sits. And another quiet start for the Pirates offense. 2 gone here, top of the third. Jared Jones is going to allow a base hit to Ahmed Rosario. Bringing up the 99 overall Julio Rodriguez. Yan, not quite there on the throw. I thought he might have had him. Rosario just beats the throw, but Julio Rodriguez underneath this pitch, and the score will remain 1-0 here. Really solid start to the game for Jared Jones. Just, of course, the 1 blunder so far. And the offense get things going against a very tough pitching matchup. A lot of our players are pretty solid at hitting lefties. I mean, other than maybe Jazz Chisholm and Victor Robles are probably the 2 that are worse against lefties than righties. But Billy Fink, for example, should have himself a good matchup here. I mean, not that going against like a 95 overall, you could say is truly a good matchup, but he's yet to get a single hit here in the World Series, and Billy Fink just has not been good at all for us in this postseason. His average is continuing to drop. A player of his caliber, we need him to be playing better. Just being straight up honest, he has been a major disappointment each of the last 2 series so far. Of course, still a ton of time to go here in this World Series, but we're not getting nearly enough from him. That's an excellent pitch for strike 3. Seattle 1, Pirates 0 through 3.5 innings, but we're going to jump ahead here to the 7th. There was not much worth watching in the middle of this game. I'll just say that our offense still doing absolutely nothing here. A couple of strikeouts on both sides pitching-wise, but that wasn't enough for me to make you guys watch every single inning of this one. And a Vinny Pasquantino 2-run shot increases the lead to 3-0 in the top of the 7th. And the way this offense is playing, 3 runs is an insurmountable lead. Tommy Chang gonna swing through that pitch in the dirt, and the 7th is over, but can this offense wake up? Nothing doing in the 8th, and so it's all come to this, the bottom of the 9th inning. Robles pops one up for out number 1. Termarr Johnson hits it a little deeper, but still pops it up for an easy out. And we are 1 out away from being shut out in Game 2. How does an offense this good only produce 2 runs in 2 games? I know the pitching is good. We are the number 1 offense in baseball. I'm not saying we should be out here scoring 10 runs a game, but this is not good enough. And it's not just these 2 games. It has not been good enough for a great portion of this postseason. And I know it's not the sliders, because we've seen these sliders produce very high-scoring games. It's just our offense has been completely inept so far. I don't know how I'm going to sound when I end up doing the voiceover for the games, but I can tell you right now that I am more frustrated than I have been at any point in MLB the Show 25 after watching this game. We are the number 1 offense in baseball, and we can't do jack shit. And it's pissing me off, and it's time to make changes. Victor Robles is hitting 187. You're done. Buford Kingman gets a chance. We're getting 200 from Termarr Johnson. You're done. Jared Triolo's getting a chance. Billy Fink's hitting 184. You're done. Literally freaking Jaiwan Bay. I'm benching our 96 overall player who's hitting 184 in the postseason and has 0 hits in the World Series through the first 2 games. I'm sick of it. Joe Adell, I don't even know if we have enough for you to be done at this point, but if we do, I'm making it happen. A message needs to be sent to this team that it's time to wake the actual heck up. That was not what I meant to do. Joe Adell hitting 196. You're done. Jazz Chisholm now going to hit leadoff. We're going to go with David Yan hitting 3rd. We're going to go with Pedro Ponce hitting 4th. And this is it. Will I do this for more than Game 3? I don't know. But these players need to wake the F up. I'm sick of it. Obviously, I was a little bit angry when recording that previous section, but I think a lot of these benchings maybe could be seen as an overreaction, but honestly, I don't think it was. If it was just games 1 and 2 that our offense struggled, I wouldn't be doing it, but we were terrible offensively the entire last series as well. If we didn't have insanely good pitching, we would never have even been close in that one. Our offense also failed us last season. We've had going on now 4 postseason series and only 1 where our offense has looked competent. Changes need to be made. Messages need to be sent. And here's the thing. We're only going to watch the offensive side for Game 3. Any of these guys who were backups that have been sent in, they get a hit. They get to stay in. This is not going to be just a 1-game benching. If those guys can actually produce better than the guys that they're replacing, and by producing better, I literally mean just 1 hit, that is the bar that they need to cross. They get to stay in for the next game. That's how it's going to go here for us. Hoping that it can light a fire under our players and let them know that it's time to show up and get some hits on the board. David Yan, the only one that's been able to do that for us so far in the World Series. For some reason, goes for 2 there. I mean, I get it. Trying to get a man in scoring position with 2 outs. Play a little risky there, but that wasn't particularly close. Pedro Ponce, down looking, going against Logan Gilbert, another very talented pitcher. 3 of the 4 pitchers that Seattle's going to be pitching with in this World Series are very talented, so you have to give them credit there. But like I said, our offense should be good enough that we can even go up. I mean, look at what we did against the Dodgers pitching staff. That's even better than Seattle. I'm not asking for 10 runs a game. I'm asking for 4 or 5, not 1 run per game from this caliber of offense. We're getting to the backups now in our lineup here in the second. Jared Triolo. Fly out over to right field. It's going to bring up Nick York. 2-1 pitch. Chopped over to short. The force out at second ends the inning. Nothing doing through 2. And then the 9 spot for us in this game is Yaiwan Bay. 2-2 is very lazily lifted over to center field for the first out of the inning. Top of the order back now for Jazz Chisholm. Hasn't been great for us so far in the World Series, but he's been overall really good in the postseason. Reynolds still hitting above 300 for us so far in the postseason as a whole. Trying to keep the third alive, but the slider was very well positioned. Gets him down swinging. Another inning with nothing doing for Pittsburgh. David Yan, 1 for 1. This is a chopper over to second, though. Ponce behind 1-2, and the curve below the zone gets him swinging. So far, we're about to get through 4 innings here. It looks like the changes in the lineups haven't really done much at all. Albert Sweeney does get a hit down for a single here. But with 2 outs again, with how this offense is playing, how confident can you be that that's going to result in anything? The answer is not very confident at all. Luckily for us, though, Mitch Keller has been pitching very well behind the scenes, so it's still 0-0. Triolo swinging at a pitch well outside the zone. Somehow got contact on it in fair play, but that's an easy out, as is Nick York here. Swinging at a pitch in the dirt. And now it's Bay behind 0-2. And looking at a pitch that was well inside the zone. So far, my motivational lineup change hasn't seemed motivational at all. That is a generous strike 3 call. Looks like the ump wants this game over with. I don't know if anybody's having fun in yet another low-scoring game. Reynolds just beats the throw there for a 1-out single. David Young, can he come through for us yet again? Yes, he can. What would we be in this series without David Young? We would literally be a team that has yet to score a single run through 3.5 games. I believe that is his 4th hit of the World Series so far. This down for a double play from Pond, so it doesn't matter in the ends. Oh boy. What are we to do about this horrendous offensive output from the Pittsburgh Pirates? I don't even know. What I can do at this point to turn things around. Seattle has scored a run, by the way, so now there's some pressure put on our offense. E.40 Kingman is going to get one down for a hit. And we get back to back singles to start the 7th inning. Can we get something going here? Triolo lines out to third for the first out. Cannot have another ground into a double play. York is going to go for a bunt here. Why? I mean, a better bunt and you might be able to get the guy home from third, but that doesn't really do anything for us other than put both guys in scoring position. But with 2 outs, there's no sacrifice in play. An error keeps the inning alive. We got so lucky. Tommy Chang at short. Looks like we were going to waste another good position here, but Jazz Chisholm comes through for us with a clutch hit. And the Pirates take the lead off of a Tommy Chang error. Reynolds 1-0. Hits it over to right. But not enough under it. And the inning is over, but finally some runs scored. And we're just going to forget the fact that without that error, we'd still have 0 runs on the board. Young gets beamed by Colin Snyder here in the 8th inning. Bringing up Pedro Ponce. Hanging curve. Hit deep to center field, but doesn't have nearly enough carry. Just the first out here of the 8th. Pittsburgh trying to extend their lead now. Albert Sweeney cracks one. Deep to right field. At the wall. He's able to snag it. You've got to be kidding me. Nearly out of the park for Albert Sweeney. Now Buford Kingman has a full count. And, ooh, that one was close. I don't know if I'd have the guts to watch that pitch. Triolo cracks one. Deep to left field. It is out of here. Jared Triolo breaks this game open for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And now we have 5 runs aboard and a 4-run lead late here in Seattle. Better late than never, they say, and this is the first inning we've actually earned runs that we've scored. And this is the kind of stuff I've just been waiting for the entire, really, last 2 episodes. Why can't we get more of this? Top of the 9th. Bay was at risk of losing his spot for the next game. He hadn't had a hit, but a home run in the 9th saves his job for another game and gets another run on the board for the Pirates. It took us very late into this ball game to wake up offensively, but considering how we played in games 1 and 2, again, I'll take better late than never. Now, the one, I'll say, risk that we took with all these changes that you're going to see here once the box score comes up, there were a lot of errors. 4 errors for the Pirates in this game, but I gave them a challenge, get a hit, stay in the game. I'm going to keep my word on that. The only guy who will not keep his job was Nick York. Nick York goes hitless in this game, so Joe Adele is going to get inserted back in the lineup in his stead. That'll put Ponce back at left field. Hopefully that can reduce our errors a bit. But Kingman, Bay, those guys, they're keeping their spots for another game here. So we'll have Thomas Coyle on the mound for Game 4. Pirates take the lead. Hoping to see some more consistent offense. Let's not take until the 7th inning to get anything aboard here. We are facing by far the lowest rated pitcher in the 4-man rotation in Brian Wu. He should be very gettable at just an 80 overall. David Yan. This is going to be caught by Rodriguez. Thought it might just hit down for a base knock, but not going to be the case. 2 gone. We're going to send Jazz Chisholm, a much better steal threat than a guy like Brian Reynolds, who almost always gets caught. Ponce is going to get that one through the infield, nearly snagged by Rosario. But a first inning run scored by Pittsburgh. Let's go. Who would have thunk it was even possible? Pittsburgh, the first to strike in the first inning. Sweeney, we're not done yet either. That single up the middle will score Pedro Ponce now. Make it 2 runs aboard early on for the Pirates. Buford Kingman keeps the inning alive yet even longer. Able to get on base with that 2-0 pitch. Now Jared Triolo behind 0-2. He swings out a slider. Of course, had that clutch home run last game that kept his job safe for this one. Rosario goes around the Thomas Coyle slider for the second out of the first inning. This is down for a base hit from Rodriguez. If we can get the same caliber of pitching from Coyle that we've gotten in games 1 through 3, you got to love our chances here with the offense already showing up with a couple of runs scored in the first inning. Ponce snags that one in left field for a 0-run first from Seattle. Now back into the bottom of the second. Kobe Mayo smacks one deep to center, and it is over the wall for the first run. That's really the only way Seattle's been able to score this entire series is solo home runs. That's a sign of good pitching. Honestly, if the only way they can do it is through home runs, they can't ever string together any sort of hits. So that's a credit to our pitching staff that they've been 100% reliant really on homers to score in the series so far. Second strikeout of the game there. Now a 2-2 count and another strikeout on the changeup. Now veering way ahead of that pitch. Alec Thomas on the ground to Bay, and the throw is made into the second. So far the defense, and we're still very early, but it hasn't been the same caliber of problem as it was back in Game 3. Yan. Pitch on the inside, hits it deep to right field, and it's not going to be snagged at the wall. Another home run for David Yan. The World Series MVP offensively by a long shot. He has shown up in a major way when we've needed him the most, making up for some of the deficiencies of some of our other draft picks who will not be named in this current moment. Kingman behind 0-2 to Wu. And that's going to get through. The diving play unable to be made over at third, and so a 2-out single for Kingman, who hasn't been really hitting for much power, but I will say he's getting on base for us pretty consistently. Triolo keeps the inning alive now. Buford Kingman into scoring position with that one. Starting to see this offense actually show some signs of being able to string hits together. Joe Adell now on the first pitch scores an RBI double with a nice hit over to right. Got his job back for Nick York, and it looks like the one-game benching might have helped him out. Bay unable to keep the inning alive any further, though, but another solid offensive inning. Finally, things looking good for Pittsburgh here. Kyle Raleigh, that one is snagged by Pedro Pons. Let's go. Nice play made out in the left, where he's, I think, more comfortable than where he was playing last game over in center. Another good inning pitched by Thomas Coyle. Jazz Chisholm has a full count and draws the walk. That pitch just barely missing. Jumping ahead now to Brian Reynolds. 0-2 on the day, but no longer. The Pittsburgh Pirates offense continues to produce in game for a 2-run blast by Brian Reynolds, his second homer of this postseason. And the Pirates are building a serious lead in this game. Finally going against a not all-star level starting pitcher, and the offense wakes up in a major way. Ryan Reynolds, the latest to contribute here. I'll bring on a lefty for Albert Sweeney, which is a little surprising considering Sweeney is a righty, but ends up working out for Seattle in the end. 9 hits through 4 innings. This is Pirates baseball. Coyle gets Julio nearly swinging out of his shoes there for his 4th punch out of the game. 2-2 for Lars Nootbaar, and he's ahead of the fastball. I mean, Seattle's been used to all these fast power pitchers so far, at least with Skenes and Jared Jones. Thomas Coyle, of course, brings a totally different element to the pitching staff, and I think that's why he's been so good, not only in this game, but really his entire rookie season, as Joe Adell down for his 2nd hit now of the ballgame. But 2 gone in the 5th already, and Bay will reach base with a walk. Bringing up the top of the order once more, Jazz Chisholm. Pitch high in the zone, struck to right field. Nootbaar goes back to the warning track to snag it, but snag it he does to end the 5th. Jazz thought he had one over the wall, but just not quite there. Bottom of the 5th now. Coyle trying to keep this a 6-1 ball game. Leadoff single is allowed. And then Matt Vierling back-to-back hits for Seattle. I think that might be the first time they've done that so far in the World Series. Now, 3, 6, 3 double play gets us out of the 5th inning. That's exactly what you want to see from Thomas Coyle. Allowed back-to-back singles to start the inning, but still able to get out of it without a scratch due to a nice double play. Into the 6th inning now. David Yan is back up to the plate and hit one very hard off the glove of third base. Gonna be a single for him. Sweeney, full counts, well outside the zone on that circle change. 2 runners aboard now for the Pirates. For Buford Kingman, he gets one down. All the way back to the wall. He'll score 1 run as Albert Sweeney will find his way to third base. An RBI double for Buford Kingman, who's been very good since being substituted in for Victor Robles. I think the Pirates might have found something here for next season's outfield. Triolo pops it up in the infield to end the inning. But the Pirates get another run aboard. Another inning where they were able to string together some hits. Thomas Coyle continues to keep a nice strikeout pace here. 6 now here in the 6th inning. This is going to get down, hung in the air forever. But the outfielders could not reach it. So, fly ball single there. Wild pitch is gonna advance the runner to second. Seattle with one of their rare opportunities to score, and now they have a very talented hitter who gets a walk. 2 aboard for Seattle now. Lars Nootbaar chops it to Jazz. He's going to tag the runner and then try to take the force out at second. I don't know why you don't go to first there, especially Rodriguez has some speed. A little bit of a questionable decision from Jazz Chisholm, but it's not going to hurt us in the end as Coyle with the high heat, well, as much heat as he can provide at least, getting Mayo swinging. Top of the 7th inning now. Pittsburgh trying to extend their lead further, and they'll get a single here from Bay. A great battle here. 10 pitches this at-bat between Carlos Estevez and Jazz Chisholm, and going to result in a Jazz Chisholm walk. The battle is ultimately won by Jazz. 2 runners on. Reynolds cracks a base hit. And the runner holds it third. Probably would have, and especially with the score the way it is, tried to get him over to home. Might have gotten caught, but it's not like it's a super high leverage situation. David Yan with the bases loaded. I was really hoping for a grand slam there for a player that's been so good for us, but that was a really good pitch. Back-to-back strikeouts to end the 7th inning. So we'll leave him loaded. Taking a look at what Thomas Coyle has done for us as he heads out into the 7th. Another really strong pitching performance. Cannot underestimate how good the pitching has been. Kingman makes the play back at the wall. Nearly another solo shot for Seattle. Again, the only way they've been able to score at all this entire series. Vierling will get down. An extra base hit here with 1 gone. Gonna go for 3, and he's out. Trying to get aggressive, going for the triple. And the relay throw. Adele to Triolo to Chisholm, and it just, can't really blame him for going for 3 there. He was very close, but the throws were really good. Alec Thomas, though, does get this one over the wall. Could have been a 2-run blast, but Vierling been a little more conservative. But instead, Seattle will settle for another solo shot. 414 feet. Thomas got all of that one. Bringing up probably their best offensive player in the World Series so far, Cal Raleigh, but he's out over to Jared Triolo. 7 runs, 15 hits for the Pirates. You'll love to see it. Top of the 8th now. Sweeney gets a 4-pitch walk. Going up against Matt Brash, who now will face Buford Kingman. That pitch, trying to go for a little bit of a hit and run scenario, but the pitch was low enough in the dirt that Sweeney just got to second base cleanly. Kingman, well struck to center. Could not find the gap with it, though, and will tag up Albert Sweeney to third. That's a sacrificing play for Jared Triolo, who will ground out here, but the 8th run of the game scores for the Pirates. Adele now hits one deep to center field, and on the warning track, it's hauled in by Julio Rodriguez. Bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. We are 1 out away from clinching our 3rd victory in the World Series. And Triolo makes the throw. The Pirates are victorious. And we are now officially just 1 win away from being world champions. The lineup changes didn't really work all that well in Game 3, but they worked in a major way for Game 4. Finally, just got consistent scoring throughout the game from the offense. Yes, we faced off against an 80 overall starting pitcher, and that needs to be factored in. But nice to see the offense show up for this one. Ahead of Game 5, I am going to put Billy Fink back in the lineup here. We're about to go against some really talented pitching here, and even though he's on a cold streak, and I was obviously quite frustrated earlier on in this series, I think, we're still going to have Kingman, who's hitting very well, and Yaiwan Bay in the lineup for Termar and Robles, respectively. But a guy like Billy Fink, you don't want to start to create problems with him going forward in the future by not playing him in the final 3 games of the World Series. Hopefully, sitting for 2 games was enough to wake him up, and he's not hitting leadoff. He's hitting 6th for us in this game. But let's hope we can have a good game here as we try to close out a World Series victory. Will giving Billy Fink his spot back after our offense just had their best game yet end up hurting us? Potentially, for sure. But we're also just going up against much better pitching in this game as well. We'll also get Paul Skenes back up on the mound for the squad, trying to secure the World Series. Nobody we'd rather have doing it. Well, let's go ahead and see if we can clinch the World Series here in Game 5. David Yan up with 2 gone here. Cracks one deep to right field. And it is out of here. David Yan, his 5th homer of the postseason. I think World Series MVP is pretty much already in the bag. If the Pirates end up winning it, it's David Yan. His 3rd homer, or maybe is it even his 4th homer of the World Series? I think it actually is. 4th homer in 5 games. Might be the case. Could be only 3, though. Either way, David Yan shows up for us once again, and we get a run in the 1st inning. That was a good sign for our offense last game to get the scoring going early. Hopefully it can be again. A risky pitch there for strike 3, leaving a curveball hanging against Julio Rodriguez. Could have some serious consequences, but it was so high in the zone that Julio let it go by him. Swing. Gets it down for a single to kick off the top of the 2nd inning. I never say I actually want to lose the game, because I absolutely don't. You never want to give a team hope, but I wouldn't mind winning the World Series in front of our hometown fans. So if we lose Game 5, it's not the worst thing in the world. That being said, though, of course, I still would want to win it here. Joe Adele, that's going to be down for not a double play, as he's able to beat out the throw. A fielder's choice instead puts runners on the corners for Bay. 0-2, and the sinker gets him swinging outside the zone, so unable to add to our lead there in the 2nd. Although we are, we're stringing together hits again, which is what you want to see for the most part. 2nd strikeout for Paul Skenes on a really nice pitch to get him down looking. Newbar just has not been effective for Seattle in the postseason at all. They probably should have benched him like we benched all our guys. Well, I'm certainly not sad that they didn't, because benching worked out for us, and I don't want things to work out for Seattle. So I'm happy with them keeping it just how it is. Bottom of the 3rd now, still 1-0. Cal Raleigh, he has done it again. Not a home run this time, but their 9-hitter has been their best offensive player in the World Series for them. They need to put him up the lineup. Might be too little too late, though, as this might be their last chance, and of course they didn't promote him in the lineup this time around. Tommy Chang down swinging for another Paul Skenes strikeout, and he's doing Paul Skenes things. If David Yan hasn't been so good, and Skenes has another performance like he did in Game 1, he'd have a case for MVP. But Albert Sweeney here in the top of the 4th blasts one behind the wall for a 2nd Pittsburgh run. It's his 3rd home run of the postseason, and gives the Pirates a little bit of breathing room here in the 4th inning. Sweeney's had himself a pretty solid series as well. This one, a really big hit for our Pirates. Billy Fink, he's a career .934 OPS player, but still struggling here in the World Series. 0 for 2 now, since being reinserted back in the lineup. Looking increasingly likely that he's just not going to get a single hit in the World Series, which is really disappointing. But if we end up winning, no harm, no foul, right? Ahmed Rosario gets a single to kick off the 4th inning for the Mariners. Julio Rodriguez, always a threat, but has been held in check for the most part in this series. And Buford Kingman phasing through walls. Ahmed Rosario advances to 2nd, but Buford Kingman might get a call from his FBI agent after this game. I think he might be in the wrong line of work with skills like that. I think he could be earning a lot more money elsewhere. 0-2 for Kobe Mayo. And the sinker gets him swinging, and Skenes, another scoreless inning pitched. Now I believe 11 innings pitched with 1 run allowed for Skenes here in the World Series. He's been everything we've wanted him to be. Bay off the glove of Chang. He, of course, had that crucial error in Game 3, and he picks up another one here. Will this one lead to runs? Not. Courtesy of Jazz Chisholm, at least, as the 5th strikeout in the game comes for Bryce Miller. Now Reynolds will get a man in scoring position, which will allow him to use that high clutch rating of his. Full count. Draws the walk. Second walk for our offense in this game. And the man, David Yan, up to the plate, but he's not going to face off against Bryce Miller. As Seattle will turn to their bullpen here with 2 gone in the 5th. Estevez gonna retire David Yan here. Score remains Pittsburgh 2, Mariners nothing. Halfway through Game 5. Paul Skenes against Alek Thomas. It's really been the 2 players at the bottom of their order, as Alek Thomas is now going to get back on base, that have been their most consistent contributors. I mean, Alek Thomas has a home run now, has a couple of extra base hits. And Cal Raleigh, of course, has been doing his thing as well, and he will be getting another hit here. Trying to make a play was Kingman. That's where the low speed in the corner outfield does come back to bite you a little bit. It results in a Seattle run, the bottom of their order, once again proving to be the best part of the Seattle order. Chang ends off the 5th with a fly out over to left. But we've got ourselves a tighter ball game here as we're instantly into the bottom of the 6th. Skenes gets a leadoff single allowed to Rosario. Bringing up Julio Rodriguez. Hasn't been a factor yet in this World Series. You just know he's going to make a play eventually. What a throw from David Yan. That was perfect. Gonna clear the base pass there. I mean, Yawan Bay just did not need to move his glove at all. What a dart throw from David Yan there. And then a fly out here to center from Lars Nootbaar. Another impressive inning from Paul Skenes. The offense trying to get some breathing room, and it's gonna come courtesy of Buford Kingman. How good has he been since being inserted into the lineup in Game 3? He's really kind of become our second best offensive player in the World Series, behind only David Yan. And his contributions make you very excited for what he could be next year when you get a guy that has the ability to produce like this in the postseason. Makes you confident that he can become an everyday starter for the future of this Pirates squad. Jazz Chisholm now strikes out on the fastball, high and tight. Kingman gives us that crucial breathing room, though. Skenes trying to go 7 innings for the second time in the World Series, and pitches like that are going to help him get there. 6 strikeouts now for Paul. And, wanted to make it 7 in 7 innings, but we'll settle for that ground ball there. Into the 8th now. Carmen Mlodzinski will be tasked with keeping this a 3-1 ball game. He's been very good so far in the postseason. It's not only been our starters that have pitched really well, our bullpen has really been clutch as well. Mlodzinski gets the first 2 batters retired here in the bottom of the 8th. Top of the order back up for Seattle. Chang gonna get a base knock out to right field with 2 gone. Rosario up next. Hits it, lifts it to center, and we are 1 inning away from winning the World Series now, and there's no one I'd rather have pitching than Emmanuel Clase. 4 for 4 in the postseason for saves. A really awesome battle. 10 pitches this at bat versus Julio Rodriguez. Eventually, Julio gets it hit, and it's gone. Been very quiet here in the postseason offensively for Julio, but he's breathing life into this Seattle Mariners lineup, as now they are one swing away from tying this game in the 9th inning. Still all the confidence in the world for Clase to close out this game, but the thing is, with that 11-pitch at bat to start this inning, you have to start to worry about his stamina, as this at bat versus Lars Nootbaar wasn't a particularly fast one either. He's already up to 17 pitches. Still needs 2 outs. And that's going to help him a lot. A 1-pitch out going against Kobe Mayo. And we're a single out away from victory. But they're not going to let Clase get that final out. They're bringing in Richard Lynn. 0-2 pitch. Gets him swinging, and the Pirates are world champions. They have done it with a 3-2 victory in Game 5. And Year 5 of our Pirates rebuild results in a World Series. What a fun journey this has been, from picking up one of the worst teams in baseball, and record-wise, we were the worst team in baseball back in year 1. The very bottom of the league to the top of the mountain, and it feels so good. Here we are, presented with the trophy. What a good, fun, well-balanced squad. We really didn't have any weaknesses. I know the offense performed very weakly at times in the postseason, but this was a team very much so deserving of a World Series championship. A lot of really fun, really talented players on the squad, and we win it all. Let's now take a moment and talk about how we got here. What was the rebuild? What got us to the top of the mountaintop? Before we do that, actually, let's see who won these awards. I'm going to guess it's probably going to be David Yan winning postseason MVP. World Series MVP is David Yan. That one I think was pretty obvious. And the playoff MVP does go to Jazz Chisholm. I would probably have had Jazz third behind both Yan, who just showed up in a major way. Jazz was better earlier on in the postseason for sure. But I think Yan was better in the higher leverage situation. And I think would have had Paul Skenes over Jazz. Brian Reynolds actually ends up being in second place. I mean, if you look at the RBIs, they had a really good lead over Yan, so I get it in that sense. So is the postseason... I thought Yan had 5 home runs. Is this wrong? I might be tripping, but 3 home runs in the World Series. He had 421 for an average, and even with 3 home runs, he only had 4 RBI because of how the offense struggled at times, which was well documented. I obviously had my kind of mini freak out. I don't even know if it was that many earlier on in this episode, but how did we get here? let's just go position by position and talk about what got us to this situation. If you take a look at the starting pitchers, we had 6 players make the playoff roster this year at this position. And of course, Bubba Chandler and Hunter Barco didn't do much, but they did pitch a little bit. 5 out of these 6 pitchers were guys that I inherited at the start of this rebuild. Bubba Chandler and Barco were both, of course, prospects that we brought up. Bubba Chandler was good last year, not so good this year, including postseason. Not any of these guys were good in the postseason. Keller was the stereotypical, just high walks per 9 pitcher that just always is going to do well. He has excellent break as well. Was so consistently good. I mean, 3.35 was 2028 was his worst year with a 3.35 ERA and a 1.24 WHIP. It was also his highest winning percentage that year, and he had one more win this year, but he had a lot more losses this year, surprisingly enough. But pretty predictably he was going to be good, just again because of that walks per 9, but he was really good. Jared Jones ended up turning things around in a major way this season. After getting the extension, you could have argued that the way he had pitched, he wasn't worth the extension that we gave him, which was $28 million. The way he pitched this year was absolutely worth it. He also was excellent in 25 innings in the postseason as well. Mitch Keller had a bad game that kind of affects his ratings, but our core starting 4 pitchers were just awesome, including Paul Skenes, who in 32 innings had 25 strikeouts, a 1.97 ERA, and a 0.78 WHIP. Paul Skenes was, of course, the reason that I decided to rebuild the Pirates this year. I wanted just this overpowering, awesome ace, and this postseason proves exactly why. This was a fun rebuild to choose. He was everything I wanted him to be in this postseason. Was excellent in Game 5, keeping those runs off the board for the Mariners so that we could win with just 3 runs scored. Bullpen's a little bit of a different story. Most of these guys are going to be drafted players. We have one inherited player in Carmen Majinski, and then, of course, the big-time free agent acquisition in Class A. He ended up being absolutely worth it. He gave up the home run to Julio Rodriguez, but we had the run to give. He was otherwise just awesome in this postseason. That 3-year, 18.5. Also, of course, one reliever for the year for us with what he did with 51 saves to just 3 blown saves and 1 hold on the year. 0.84 WHIP, 2.13 ERA as our closer. Awesome stuff. Majinski was the only guy to make it to stick around long enough. He just was, for the most part, pretty good. He had one kind of down year in 2027, but 28, 29, 26, all good numbers. He stuck around. Probably wasn't going to stick around for another year, but it won't matter because our rebuild is complete. Other than that, yeah, drafted guys here, and we just had a pipeline of these mid-70s or soon-to-be mid-70s relief pitchers. That way we were just going to be able to keep that bullpen going young and cheap for the foreseeable future. Switching now to the position players, let's go ahead and talk about those guys. In terms of inherited position players, not a lot of guys with full-time roles. You had a lot of our backups were inherited players, the Henry Davises, the Yawon Bays, the Nick Yorks. But in terms of actual guys that were everyday starters for us, he got benched in the World Series, but Tamar Johnson was the lone guy in our prospect farm system at the start of the rebuild with B potential. And he ended up being our everyday starter for most of this year. And he hit well. And he even had a couple of moments here in the postseason, just Wasn't very consistent in the postseason. Ends up with a 200 average. And then Jared Triolo. Like, our second base spot was the spot where we just had our guys that were inherited. Pretty much everything else was either free agency or the draft. Let's go to free agency first, where the most key signing we had, it was a controversial one at the time, and it was rightfully so a controversial one because it was risky. I mean, they went down a lot this year, so it looks worse this year than it has in seasons past. But this is a guy who really could only hit righties coming in. He had good fielding. Clutch was in a solid spot. And I decided to take the risk on Jazz Chisholm. Gave him a long-term deal worth $21 million for 6 years. And so far in his first 3 seasons in Pittsburgh, he's been incredible. He was 3rd place in MVP voting this year for our team. And, you know, we'll talk about our draftees in a minute. I thought Billy Fink was easily going to be the face of the Pirates offense. Turns out, I think it's Jazz Chisholm still to this point. Now, Billy Fink will overtake him at some point for sure down the line, but Jazz Chisholm took a swing on him, and it absolutely smashed for a home run. Best signing so far. Outfield was where the other free agents lie. This is our other inherited player in Brian Reynolds. Career Pittsburgh Pirate since 2019. Wins it in 2029. And these last 2 years, he was awesome. He was incredible. He was by far, out of the guys that we inherited, the best Pirate for us. Ended up as our DH. And he was 2nd place for playoff MVP, and a great player to have around. Took some different swings. We kind of had some rotating outfielders at times. Robles was up and down. Joe Adell was up and down. Honestly, don't think either of these guys would be back next season. We probably would just would have gone really young alongside Brian Reynolds in the outfield next year. But Robles had good moments for us for sure, and so did Joe Adell. We had previous guys like Willie Castro was obviously his shortstop to begin with, but he ended up as our center fielder. And we had a miss on like Ramon Laureano. Took a lot of swings here. Ultimately, I don't think we ended up with like a key outfielder other than Brian Reynolds, who was actually just our DH when he was our key player. Now let's talk about the draft picks. Of course, generational second baseman turned shortstop Billy Fink was the biggest draft pick that we made in this series, no doubt about it. He's up to a 96 overall, and despite all the disappointments that I had with him in this postseason run, don't let that take away from what kind of player he has been at the start of his career. He is over 30 home runs, over 900 OPS in each of the last 2 seasons, his first 2 full seasons in a Pittsburgh Pirates uniform. One bad postseason doesn't take away the fact that this guy is an absolute beast of a player. Ultimately, I think the lack of key moments in high leverage situations, hitting 170 in this postseason run, probably puts him short of the key players I had in my last year's rebuild, the Rafael Murillos and, of course, the Neil Dorseys. If you were around my channel last season, I think it's going to ultimately fall short of those caliber of players when I think of past rebuilds going forward. But no doubt about it, still a very, very talented player and still absolutely worth the long-term contract we signed him to. The guy who was maybe even the opposite, Billy Fink, excellent in the regular season, really struggled in the postseason. The guy who had one of our lower averages and lower OPSs in our lineup in the regular season comes through for us in a major way and absolutely deserving of the World Series MVP. The first draft pick we made in the rebuild, David Yan, an absolute stud. Some excellent throws from behind the plate as well. Getting some of these runners out. We were not seeing any of that from the Henry Davises and the Andy Rodriguezes and the Barts that we had early on in this rebuild. David Yan, great two-way catcher. You don't always get it, but I always try to look for it. It's something that I prioritize. I like a catcher that you don't just stick in the 9 spot and be glad that he hits 220, and if he can get to 700 OPS, we're happy. That hasn't been the way I've tried to build my playoff teams in my MLB rebuilds. And David Yan, excellent catcher. Probably the next most impactful draft pick we made as a hitter, of course. I mean, Thomas Coyle would certainly be up there in terms of draft picks if we're going back to pitchers here. The one pitcher in our starting rotation that we did not inherit was Thomas Coyle. But Albert Sweeney ends up playing 2 full years for us. I say full years. He did get injured this year, of course. And a little bit of a drop-off here in the regular season, but he also performed really well in this postseason. You have to give him his props for that. 305 average, 3 homers, one of our better offensive performers. Pedro Ponce had a full year for us out in left, or mostly a full year at least. We actually started with Buford Kingman. The left field, I would have loved to see Robinson Brown get some run. Had we gone longer here in the series, I think he would have. Buford Kingman ended up stepping in and outperforming Robles by a wide margin. That was ended up being a great move, with the benefit of hindsight, to bench Robles for Kingman here in the postseason. Guys like Robert Ecker also would have been really close to making his debut. And then probably the other guy that I wish we could have seen play more would have been Pete Good. He did actually make his MLB debut. He got 5 starts under his belt by the time we finished off this rebuild. But, of course, a lot of these guys would have had their rookie years next year, and it just didn't end up coming to pass. And I've been referring to it for most of this kind of longer outro, as I wanted to take a step back and think about how we got here. But this is going to be the end of the rebuild here. I've been thinking about what I wanted to do if we won the World Series in this season. And ultimately, I think this is a good end to this rebuild. Typically, when I go longer than a championship year in a rebuild, interest drops off a lot and views aren't everything, but I just don't know if we're gonna get a better end of the story than we got right here. A team like the Pirates, who seem in real life to just be going nowhere. I mean, Paul Skenes in real life is pitching incredible and somehow has a losing record, which was kind of the case early on in this rebuild as well. The rebuild is complete. And like I kind of said with Billy Fink, he's a really good player, but from what I'm seeing with what he's doing in episodes, I don't think he has that special it factor that made me go longer in series, like the Neil Dorseys, the Ayrton Saramagos, if you want to compare it to basketball, the ones that made me want to see more of their career story. I think he's ultimately going to be a very, very good player, maybe even an MVP. But I think we've told the story of these Pittsburgh Pirates. The only thing I'd really want to see more is guys like Robinson Brown, Robert Eckert, and Pete Good make their debuts. And I just don't know if seeing some rookies make their debuts is worth keeping this series going. I hope you enjoyed this Pittsburgh Pirates rebuild here. In terms of what my plans are for the future of this channel, as of right now, I am planning on playing NCAA 26 And I haven't taken a break from making videos. You got to remember, this is not my full-time job. I'm way too small of a channel for this to be my full-time job. And so I've been practically working 2 jobs for a while now, since I've started making videos regularly on this channel. And I mean, I've taken short breaks for being sick or moving or stuff like that, but that's not really a break, right? Not making videos because I'm sick isn't like really a break in my mind, or because I'm moving. I haven't taken a break just because I want to, and I want to relax. I want to have some downtime. I haven't taken a break in a really long time, and we're about a month away from the release of College Football 26, and I think just a month where I don't worry about making YouTube videos sounds really, really nice. And so this is going to be the end of my MLB The Show 25 franchise content. There is a chance I've been thinking about some kind of one-off videos that I've been wanting to make for MLB The Show that I just keep putting off and I haven't done. There's a chance I release those in the interim, but honestly, I'm just really liking the idea of taking a break at this current moment. But I appreciate you for being along on the ride for this Pittsburgh Pirates franchise series. I hope to see you in my future series across other games that we'll be playing here on the channel in the near future. That's all I've got for this episode. We'll be back when College Football 26 comes out, and I'll see you then. Let's go, Bucks!